WhiskyJason here. Whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskey. And today I'm in Ireland, to be exact, Tullamore D.E.W. Old Bonded Warehouse Release Irish Whiskey Triple Distilled. You've never seen this before? Well, it's one of them exclusive at the visitor center products. Da da da. Whoops, wrong direction. Da da da. Very, very, very good. So, Daniel E. Williams in 1829. He was the founder of the distillery. And dew is not dew as in wetness or moisture in the morning, but literally his name, Daniel E. Williams. And what I'm going to compare it to today is the 12-year-old. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but this is something very, very common over here in Europe. This is a 32 euro product. This is a 54 euro product, distillery exclusive. And one of the highlights of our tour, at least for my wife, was actually the Distillery Tour at Tullamore, because at the last tour of the day at 5 p.m., 5 people showed up and all 5 were Germans. And there was this guy called Tony, and Tony actually comes from Germany, and he did the tour in German. So this was a highlight for us. Now, don't worry, Germans are all over the world. If you ever have any tourists any place, you'll probably have one person from China or Japan, and then one person from Germany, because Germans love to travel. Now, this, as I said, is a triple distilled. This is a triple cask. Now, I love how they how they define triple cask. First of all, it's an ex-bourbon barrel. So, over in America, bourbon, beam, whatever, Wild Turkey, Heaven Hill, Four Roses, you name it. The casks come over and they put the Irish whiskey in their ex-bourbon barrel, first fill. Then they use those barrels again. So it was bourbon once, Irish whiskey second time, and the third time, and they're calling them Irish whiskey barrels. So we have first fill bourbon barrels, second fill bourbon barrels, Irish bourbon, and you also have sherry casks. So you do have 3 different types of barrels. And they also have 3 different types of whiskey in here. We have our normal grain whiskey, column still. And the very interesting thing at Tullamore D.E.W, they do not use corn, maize. They use wheat, which I thought was very, very good. So it's a wheated whiskey, like our W.L. Wellers, like our Pappies, like our Maker's Mark. They use malted whiskey, single malt, barley, and they also use pot still. Pot still, single pot still, is a unique whiskey which only be made in Ireland. Legally, they use at least 30% unmalted barley and at least 30% malted barley. Usually it's 60-40. 60% malted barley, 40% unmalted barley, and then they mix the pot still, the single malt, and the grain together. So the very, very interesting thing is that the pot still percentage is a little bit higher in here, and the pot still was actually aged in an extra, for an extra 1 year in a sherry cask. Good. Before my distillery tour, I had the opportunity to meet up with Kevin Pigot. Pigot. I wanted to say the French pronunciation. Pigot would be the French, and Pigot. And Kevin Pigot, Kevin and I, we actually did a nice interview up in the lounge of Tullamore D.E.W. Now, a little bit to history, and then, let's pour first and let's talk second. So, 46%, yay. Non-chilled filtered double yay. Over here, the 12-year-old, you have the screw cap, by the way. Not yay. Over here, you have the cork. You do actually remember 1829. And we have here, unfortunately, only 40%. And it is chilled filtered, and there is probably color added. Does it say here? Mit Farbstoff, Zuckercouleur. So, yes, of course, Germans, if you put any type of sugar coloring in here, you need to place it on the label, and it's always in German. So, a little bit of the history. Way back when, 35 years ago, Powers and Tullamore and the brands of Redbreast and Jameson all got together and they basically said, all right, in order to survive in this world, we need to be bigger. We're going to build Middleton. We're going to close our own distilleries, and we're going to actually just make everything there and just put different brands on the different products we can make. They could make the single pot still, they could make the single grain, they could make the single malt there, and everyone was happy. And that's what happened. This actually was made at Middleton 12 years ago. Now, about 5 to 6 years ago, William Grant, Glenfiddich, came and said, hey, we would like to buy the brand. And the Irish Distillers Limited, I'm not sure if I got that title correct, basically said, no problem, you can have it. And then William and Grant said, we're going to invest 100 million euros and we're going to build a new distillery outside Tullamore. It's actually to the south, industrial region, very, very nice, beautiful, beautiful building. Wonderful big distilling thing. Couldn't get in because the visitor center is in the center of Tullamore. And if you actually look here at this little box, you can see here, well, let's see if I can put it up here, you can actually see that little building there. And that little building here is a bonded warehouse that was built in the 19th century, situated on the banks of the Grand Canal in Tullamore, and it was here in the dark, cool, aromatic warehouse that Daniel E. Williams carefully matured his whiskey for many long years. And today the same warehouse, steeped in the history of Tullamore D.E.W, is home to our visitor center. So you actually go to the visitor center in the middle of the city, and then you cannot visit the distillery. But they do have a wonderful multimedia sensoric experience there, very well done. Very modern, very, very nicely done, actually, that thing. And you go through the entire process of how the whiskey's made. In the end, you get to taste the whiskeys. Well, very, very nice. That integrated into the distillery would have been great. But William Grant invested that almost $100 million in the visitor center and, of course, the distillery, because they send millions and millions of bottles each year to the USA, biggest market. Second biggest market was Germany. Now it's the Czech Republic and all over. And now they're entering in the Asian market. So they really need to ramp everything up, and actually have that producing even maybe twice or 3 times the amount they did at Middleton. So 54 euros, 32 euros. Both of these triple distilled, both of these triple matured, both of these triple grain. Single pot still, single malt, and grain. Non-chilled filtered, filtered. 46%, 40%. Let's taste. Let's first nose. Caramel. I don't get the sherry, but I do get a nice creme brulee, a nice caramel, but I do get the grain here. Oh, milk chocolate, smooth, milky. No, let's say the Mars bar with the caramel and the chocolate together. Do you remember those? At least I, as a child, I had something called Rolo. There were little tiny pieces of chocolate with caramel inside. That's what I'm getting here. Oh, fabulous, fabulous, and a nice vanilla coating on top of that, like a vanilla icing almost. Nice. I prefer the nose here. Let's try. Hot, sharp, peppery, grainy. I'm not excited about this. I'm going to dilute this down to about 40% and see what happens there. Going over to 12-year-old. Much better. Smooth, silky, soft, oily. I get that toffee Rolo caramel moment. Tiny little bit of hazelnut and even a little bit of coconut. I've never read the tasting notes on this. It says here, the taste is spicy, or this was spicy, with a powerful chocolate flavor, got it, with nutty hazelnut, sherry notes, and a real depth of cinnamon. Did I get the cinnamon? No, I think in my German video I did mention cinnamon. but this time I didn't, very briefly. To be honest, I think for 32 euros, for a 12-year-old whiskey, this is almost a steal. This is very good. I'm going to have to do a blind of just some different Irish whiskeys again and just try and see which one I really like. That's a good idea. Okay, diluted it down to about 40%. Got that almost right. A lot of the sharpness is gone. A lot of that heat is gone. A lot of that burningness is gone. But it loses so much of its character. I don't know, people. All right, I'm going to give this a solid C. Yeah, C is kind of, yeah, C. Solid C. 54 euros, C minus, D plus. Now I'm gonna go back to my C minus just because it's a souvenir. Now if you go to the Tullamore Distillery, this is a souvenir. You can only buy it there, and I do like that. I do like that factor. I do like that moment. I do like that occasion. And yet, if I'm going to do a distillery only, why do I offer a whiskey which is worse than the 12-year-old? Why do I offer something which does not have as much character and depth and complexity as something almost, not exactly half the price, but 35-40% cheaper? And to be honest, come on. Screw cap for 54 euros, no go. I'm sorry. It reminds me of that. Over here in Germany, my father-in-law, he's a farmer, all right? And so farmers can party. I respect. They party until 2 a.m., 3 a.m., get up at 4 and start milking the cows, literally. And they don't complain. And when they party, no. And many years ago, about 10 years ago in Germany, they switched from Jim Beam and from Jack Daniels to Tullamore D.E.W. The green label, no age statement. We get a 1-liter bottle over here for 13 euros. And they say they cannot beat the price and the taste together with Coke. Whiskey Coke. And so this is actually the number one, the no name, the green label is the number one seller in our region just because of that. All right, so the value for money is a C minus, but just for the factor of the ornament, just for the factor of it being a souvenir. But if I'm going to buy something, I'm going to go for this. Or maybe even, to be more honest, the 14-year-old is also a great buy. It's only a few euros more. Over here in Germany, it's 39 euros. Also very, very nice. I think it's actually, and this is a single malt, by the way. This is a blended malt, and this is a single malt. So I would actually go for this. So what is my favorite Tullamore D.E.W. under a price of 50-some euros? It's going to be the 14-year-old. So my question of the day, what is your favorite Tullamore D.E.W.? I do have the 18-year-old over there. I'm going to taste it soon, and I'm looking forward to that with all my heart. But what is your favorite Tullamore D.E.W.? All right, Whiskey Jason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. I hope you liked it. Please have a thumbs up. Please write a nice little comment, and please subscribe and tell others more about this crazy guy tasting whiskey you'll probably never get your hands on. Bye bye.